In the last few hours, a different atmosphere has taken over St. James Park, something that not even the most attentive supporters managed to identify straight away. There is a discreet, almost silent movement running through the club's corridors, as if a change is about to happen without anyone daring to speak its name. It is the kind of feeling that leaves everyone uneasy, wondering if something big is forming behind the scenes. These are signs that appear subtly but carry enormous weight when observed carefully. Perhaps you, who follow everything about Newcastle United, have noticed it too. It feels like a whisper shared between analysts, journalists, and even club employees, something that suggests the next steps will be decisive in defining the team's future. And when there is so much expectation building up, it becomes impossible not to dig deeper and try to understand what is really happening. By the way, if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, take a moment to do so now and keep up with all the updates we will break down here, without missing any of what is coming. It is curious how certain situations seem to develop almost naturally, even when no one is expecting them. In recent days, a few signs have started to point towards an internal movement that could turn into one of the most impactful decisions of recent years. This is not just about tactical changes or adjustments to the squad, but something much bigger, something that could completely redefine Newcastle's competitive identity. And if you want to stay with us on this journey, make sure to subscribe and help strengthen our community. It is important to emphasize that this is not just any rumor, nor empty speculation. There are reliable sources, verified movements, and cross-checked information indicating that the club is analyzing bold possibilities. Every detail that emerges reinforces the impression that Newcastle is about to take a significant step towards a new cycle. According to recent reports published by the Mirror and backed by information from Fabrizio Romano, a high-profile name is being studied by the board to take over the managerial role if Eddie Howe leaves his post. And it is not just any professional. It is Xavi, the former Barcelona coach, someone who has even been called the best manager in the world by President Joan Laporta. His possible arrival could even revive the football of Anthony Gordon, who is far from his best form. Before any analysis, it must be acknowledged that Eddie Howe has become a fundamental part of Newcastle United's recent history. His tenure is not marked only by results, but by evolution, rebuilding, and a restoration of confidence that put the club back among the most ambitious in England. Howe represents much more than a coach. He became a symbol of a renaissance. But in football, even symbols face moments of decline, and the current season has exposed problems that can no longer be ignored. Newcastle's scenario at the start of this competitive cycle is far from encouraging. The club sits in uncomfortable positions in the table. Its away performance is worrying, and the team seems far from the consistency shown last season, when it secured a Champions League spot and returned to competing for titles. For a board that values constant progress, stagnation is not an option. And that is where Xavi's name emerges, not just as an alternative, but as a possible solution. Another factor weighing heavily in this assessment is the individual performance of key players such as Anthony Gordon, the forward, who shone last season by contributing to 21 goals and winning Newcastle's Player of the Year award, seems to be going through a turbulent spell. Confidence, precision, and effective participation in the attacking system are lacking. Journalist Adam Clary even said he looks completely lost on the pitch, and when a talent like that is underperforming, something needs urgent correction. At this point, Xavi's style of play might be exactly what Gordon needs. His philosophy of high possession, coordinated movement, and wide play favors fast and intelligent players who can exploit space between the lines. Gordon could regain his spark, not just as a quick winger, but as a key piece in a fluid and aggressive attacking system. And if you want to follow this potential development closely, subscribe to the channel to keep receiving all the details of this unfolding story. Xavi's impact would not be limited to the forwards. Players like Bruno Guimaraes and Sandro Tonali could become even more essential pillars. The ability to control the rhythm of the game, dictate possession, and build play from midfield fits perfectly with the Spanish manager's style. His arrival could elevate Newcastle to a new technical level, something previously glimpsed but never fully consolidated. Xavi's relationship with English football has been discussed before. According to Fabrizio Romano, Xavi even showed interest in taking charge of Manchester United if Ruben Amorim's project collapsed, which shows that the Premier League is part of his long-term ambitions, and this should not be ignored. He is an ambitious, disciplined manager with a strong desire to prove that his philosophy can dominate in any league. The possibility of working at Newcastle, within a structured project, is tempting for any professional. Meanwhile, Eddie Howe continues to carry out his duties with seriousness, despite internal and external pressure. The manager signed a long contract in 2022, and there are rumors that an additional extension was quietly discussed in the months that followed. However, as they often say behind the scenes, no coach is untouchable. Not even Howe, who has become a true idol in the north of England. If the board believes the cycle has come to an end, it will not hesitate to pursue something new. This does not mean the board is acting rashly. On the contrary, according to sources close to the PIF, the current stance is one of total caution. There is no sense of panic, nor any sign of hasty decisions. What exists is an awareness that the club needs to evolve, and the current situation cannot continue indefinitely. The path until the end of the season could be decisive in determining Howe's future and, consequently, Newcastle's next step. The drop in performance cannot be attributed only to injuries, although they have indeed affected the team's tactical structure. There is a sense of emotional and physical wear, reflected in the lack of intensity in away matches and the difficulty in creating clear chances. It feels as though the mechanism that operated almost perfectly last season has lost some of its essential components. Recovering that requires deep changes. Interestingly, some of those changes are already being considered internally. The search for a manager with characteristics different from Howe indicates that the board is looking not just to fix issues, but to completely reshape the style of play. Such a decision rarely happens on impulse. It usually arises from long technical analysis, strategic meetings, and comparative studies of different managerial profiles.